Hello, welcome back, or welcome if you're new to the realm of kid-lit comics, where we talk everything kid-lit, manga, graphic novels, and comics. I was like, what am I forgetting in the categories? Okay, y'all, so today we're here. I'm actually sitting down late at night to do like a couple of videos for filming, because this has been really busy over the holidays. A lot more busy than I anticipated, which is perfectly fine. Also been getting a lot of reading done. Not mad at it. But I am going to be doing my January reading plans. But I'm going to let a random number generator choose a few of my selections, right? That's typically not what I do, but like everyone else within this community, my physical TBR has gotten a little bigger than what I've wanted. That's not to say that I expect to read my entire physical TBR down, because it's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. It's just not an expectation that I'm going to have of myself. And it's also not something that I want to necessarily do. Like, I like the idea of having books on my shelf that I haven't read. But I do think that because I read so much from the library, I often neglect these shelves, which is super unfortunate, but it kind of is one of those things where it is. So I'm going to use a random number generator as coordinates to give me an idea of what I will be picking up. I'm going to do six options or 6 coordinates per video. I won't do any more than that because I still am going to be keeping up with a lot of new releases, stuff that I have for book club and stuff like that. So I don't want to necessarily like overwhelm myself, but because this channel is focused on kid-lit comics, manga, and graphic novels, we're only going to be doing 4 of my shelves. So I have, if you did not know, I have 6 units of shelves, and each one of those units has 6 shelves. If that makes any sense. But we're only going to work with 4. Each one has 6. And I would estimate that any given shelf probably has anywhere between like 40 to 50 titles on it. That could be wrong, but I'm just gonna go with it and say that our top number can be 50 for every shelf. I may have to readjust as we go on if I notice that there are technically more books on one shelf than what I anticipated, but we're going to go with either 1 to 4, 1 to 6, and then 1 to 50, and then we'll go from there. So we're gonna start with our first, which I probably should have had this better set up. Okay, so our first number, our max is gonna be 4. I'm just doing this on Google. I'm not screen recording it because no, I'm not. Okay, so the first coordinate is 1, which you probably cannot see, but it does say 1. All right, our next one is going to be 6, and it chose shelf number 5. This is making me very nervous. And out of 1 to 50, it chose number 2. Of course it did. Okay, so I am going to move y'all to my shelf over there so that we can do this together. Okay, so if you didn't know, this is my young adult shelf. Primarily, I mean, there are some books that are on this shelf over here that are young adult, but I just have this entire shelf. So this is at the very bottom. This is going to be considered shelf number 5, and if we count 1, 2, it is going to be joined at the joints. This one is an ARC that I received from Holiday House, and it came out July. I think it's a good one with disability rep, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's go ahead and do the next set of coordinates. Okay, so I'm going to do something completely weird, and I'm just going to sit here and sit on the floor because I don't feel like doing the whole getting up and getting down and all the extra stuff. Okay, so we're going to set our max to 4 again, and this time it picked shelf 2, so we're going to be moving over, which is my manga shelf. It's some young adult stuff, but it's primarily manga. Great. Alright, change it to 6. It picked the 4th shelf, which is definitely manga. And out of number 50, it picked 27. So let's go count and see what 27 is. Okay, so this is a weird angle, but this is what the 4th shelf looks like. We're going to count 27, which I think is going to put me in the middle of a series, but we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's volume 9 of Nana, which is the volume technically that I'm on for the series. Gosh. Okay, so my camera did some weird thing where it cut off, but I ended up picking up Nana, which is so weird to me because y'all know I've been fighting for my life to finish this series, right? Like, I've been trying so hard to read Nana, to finish Nana, not read it, but to finish it. So I technically have volumes, I think 3 and 4 upstairs, because it skips from 1 to 2 on this shelf. So if I don't start with volume 9, I will take this as an indication that I need to go through and at least read volume 3 this month. So I will go ahead and I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna hold this and still keep it as a potential that I need to read, but it just may not be that specific volume. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our 1 to 4. It put me at shelf number 4, which is my middle grade shelf. And this one, I'm only going to do 4 shelves because that last shelf is picture books and I've pretty much read all of those. So we're gonna do 4 as our max again. Okay, so it chose the 3rd shelf. This is great. And we're doing our max at 50. And it chose book number 13. So let's go count it up. I did say I was doing 5 picks or 6. I feel like I said 6. Maybe I said 5. We're gonna do 5. If I said 6, I lied. we're gonna do 5. Okay, so this shelf is situated really, really weird because of how my table is. And I'm low-key kind of like sitting on the table a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and count. Okay, and we got Freddy versus the Family Curse, which I know this one has Filipino representation in it, and I read Tracy, I think, for the first time this year, but we'll talk a little bit. I need to get out this angle. I need to get out of it. Y'all, I knocked the dining room light. I messed up the child. This whole thing. Okay, so I ended up picking Freddy versus the Family Curse. I don't remember much about this one, except that I think that Freddy and his family have bad luck. It's not a long book though. It's 250 pages and it's a middle grade book, which for me, if you know, is not long at all. All right, so we have 2 more picks. What we have, let's set our max again to 4. All right, it put me at 2, which is the shelf again, this young adult shelf. We're gonna do our max at 6. Shelf number 4. No way, no way. Shelf number 4 again. 22. I swear to you, I think this is another Nana book. I'm like pretty sure this is another Nana book. Hold on. Hold the fuck on. Okay, so this is shelf number 4 again. We're back. Let's count 22. It is Nana again. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again so we get a little bit of variation. Okay, so technically I could take that as a sign that I need to read Nana, 2 volumes of Nana this month. So I will go ahead and tack on to another volume of Nana, but I do want to do that again because there's no way. So we're going to do 1 to 4. It chose shelf number 4 again, which is my middle grade shelf. We're going to keep it at 4. This time it kept it at shelf number 2, and that is my fantasy shelf. And the number it gave me is 46. The angle of this, quite honestly, y'all, is too difficult. So I'm gonna count it out myself and I will be right back. Okay, so the one that I ended up counting out at number 46 was The Frost Fair, which is the first book in the Miraculous Sweetmaker series. The sequel to this just recently came out. This definitely gives me Frozen vibes. This is another one it's longer than the first one, but the text is spaced out a lot. So this is another one that I don't feel like is going to take me a lot to finish, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's go ahead and do our last set of coordinates. Once again, 1 to 4. Okay, back at shelf number 1, change that from 1 to 6. Shelf number 4 again. This is starting not to feel that random. Okay, and we got book number 38. I will take you with me to count this one. Okay, so this is shelf number 4, and we are counting to 38. So, and 38. Is this 38 back here? Is it in fact 38? It is Anna and the French Kiss, and I have a very, very, very funny story about me choosing this book. Okay, friends. I'm only gonna do 5 picks a month. If I said 6, I lied to y'all. I don't know how y'all be doing these TBR games and all this other stuff, because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So let's talk about the 5/6 books that I ended up pulling. Okay, so the first one that I ended up picking was Joined at the Joints by Marissa Eller. This is one that I had been sent by Holiday House. It came out July. Well, I want to say of this year, but I don't know. Y'all may not see this in 2025. So with that being said, this year or last year, one of the two will work in the situation. But it's following 2 kids who both have juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and one of our main characters is Ivy, who also has social anxiety. She doesn't like getting out. She prefers to bake, and so her chronically ill mother and her sister attempt to get her to support group. When she gets to that support group, she ends up meeting Grant. So this is supposed to be a rom-com of sorts. I have been attempting to read a lot more kidlit that has disability rep. I read my first book that had rheumatoid arthritis representation in it this year or last year, depending upon when you see this video, and I really did enjoy it. That one focused on a main character who was a swimmer and had to figure out how she wanted to continue to swim, especially because it did trigger flare-ups. This one, I think, of course, unlike the middle grade one I read, is going to be more specifically focused on the romance. And the author also has chronic pain, and so I think she's pulling a little bit from her own experiences of having chronic pain, being chronically ill. So I'm looking forward to picking this one up. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. It's just taken me forever to get to it. I got it and my intentions were to read it, and then I just did not get to it. The second one, not the other, or was this the second one or the third one? I think this was the third one. Nana may have been the second one. Either way, one of the picks I had was Freddy versus the Family Curse. This is by Tracy Badua. I've read Tracy's young adult book. I feel like I did this year. I read Tracy Padua's young adult book, but this is her middle grade book about a kid named Freddy whose family has had really bad luck. He ends up finding an amulet that is like a century old. It's from the Philippines, and he thinks it's going to bring him good fortune. Come to find out, it's his great-grandfather, his great-grand-uncle is trapped in the heirloom, and the evil spirits that were responsible for his death are back with a vengeance. And so him and his cousin have 13 days to break the curse. This one is shorter than what I anticipated. I can't even remember when I got this one, to be quite honest with y'all. I think Clarion sent this one to me because I don't remember I don't remember buying this one, but I am excited to pick this up because the one that I read by Tracy Badua this past year I really did enjoy. So looking forward to this. Seeing a lot more kid lit books come out that have Filipino representation, so that's really exciting. Then we have Nana. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to pick up volume 3 and 4 and continue this, or do volumes 9 and 10. More than likely, I'm probably going to do volumes 3 and 4 because I was doing a straight reread through of the first part of the series so that I could continue with the series. Not that I am not familiar with this story, because I'm super familiar with it at this point. I've watched the anime, the first part of the anime through a couple times, so I'm no stranger to the story. So Nana is a manga by Ayazawa. This is a josei that focuses on two main characters, Nana O and Nana K, who end up in Tokyo together and strike up this very, I don't want to say unusual because it's not an unusual relationship, but they're very close. And it's unusual in the sense that if you met them separately, you wouldn't really pin them together as being like really close friends, but they do end up developing that relationship. And it's slice of life in a lot of ways. You're following their day-to-day ups and downs, relationships like with each other, relationships with partners, and them just trying to figure out life, being in like your early 20s. I fell in love with this series when I first really started revisiting manga and really getting into it. It is one of my favorite series of all time. I love that there are some sapphic like undertones to it. There is no romantic relationship between these two characters, but sometimes I be wishing like I wish they just would have been together because it would make life a lot easier. So we'll see at the end of the month whether I end up deciding to read 3 and 4 or not. I think that's what I'm going to do because it just makes the most sense, but we will see. The next one that I ended up picking up was the Frost Fair. This is the first book in the Miraculous Sweet Maker series by Natasha Hastings. This is one where the sequel did just recently come out and I still haven't picked this one up. I really love this cover. Although it's not Disney affiliated, it gives me Disney vibes, very much so. Frozen, and I'm sure that that was what HarperCollins marketing team, I'm sure that was the intention behind it. But this focuses on two friends, Thomasina and Anne, who peddle sweets, and they hear about this thing called the Frost Fair where you can get a wish granted, but of course with every wish there's payment, there's consequences, and I believe it's Thomasina who wants to have her twin brother return because his death kind of messed up the family, but as payment for her wish, she starts to get these snowflakes on her skin, and then her memories of her brother slowly begin to disappear. So they have to shatter the grasp of Father Winter before things go completely left. This is kind of perfect for the vibes because January is still winter, as we all know. Even here in the South, it's, you know, what we like to consider a winter. So this is the, you know, vibes for the season. And I'm hoping I'm gonna enjoy this one. I really do like this cover. And I love that it's so glossy. That's usually not me as a person, but I like the cover appeal thing, but that one is. Okay, and the last one that I ended up picking up is funny because I've read this book before, but I'm gonna allow it to sit on this reading plans video because I never finished the series. I read books 1 and 2 and never picked up book 3. And I own all 3, but I don't really remember much from the series. I remember some of it, but not all of it. And this might doom me because this is an older young adult contemporary series. I can tell how old this book is because my copy is starting to really age. But it came out in 2010. So by the time I read this book, it will be 15 years old. And young adult really has short life expectancy in terms of staying power. But it's Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins back in 2012, 2013. This was all the rage. Stephanie Perkins was one of the biggest names in young adult contemporary romances, as well as like Morgan Matson. Like when that whole crew was in the game, right? I know Morgan Matson's still writing. I don't mean to say that Stephanie's still not writing, but those were the big names attached to, and a lot of other people, but were attached to contemporary romance. Everybody was reading Anna and the French Kiss. It's more of a companion series because each book focuses on a different couple, but you do see the appearances of other individuals from previous books. So I do recommend reading them in order. But I'm going to go with it because I never finished the series. And I have quite a few things on my shelf. The series where I've read all the way up to the last book and I just couldn't bring myself to finish it. And it's about time that I finish this, but I need to reread because I couldn't tell you. I haven't read this book myself probably in about 8 to 10 years. So there's that. I'm going to be interested in reading this because I think the first time I read this, I probably was in my early 20s, and now being in my early 30s, I'm probably going to feel a lot differently about this. But I want to give it a go and see how I feel. I feel like I tried rereading this last year and I just didn't continue with it. It was nothing bad necessarily, but I just didn't finish it. So yes, there's that. Okay, y'all. So those are just the general those are just the general like picks that I have. Those are the 5 picks. I also have quite a few things that I am gonna try to pick up outside of this stuff. I have I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to see this. Okay, yes, you can see this. So this is what I was talking about in my new release video, right? This is the new release tracker that I'm keeping that I specifically share with patrons. And I have a list of 10 books which were my most anticipated releases for January 2025. Those are the 10 books that I am really wanting to get to in January. I want to get to, oh, sorry, not 10. It's like 27. So I'm not going to go through. I was like, oh, it's the 10 books. No, it's actually like 27 or 28. I do read a lot. So this is not unusual for me. This is not, I'm sure some people are like, 27, don't you already have like these? Yeah, I know. I know it's a lot. I know it seems like a lot. But when you crank out anywhere between 50 to 80 books normally in a month, it's not particularly unusual for me to have lofty goals like this. It's not unusual. So those 27 books that I had spoken about, and 10 of those are picture books, which will take me all of 5 to 10 minutes to read, depending upon how long I want to kind of soak up the artwork. It's not really that lofty of a goal, but I will give you 5 that I am very like excited to pick up. Okay, so we're gonna start with Fresh Start by Gail Galligan. Now, as I stated in that new release video, I am super familiar with Gail's work that they've done in illustrating other stuff. They also had that previous middle grade graphic novel that they did on Yo-Yoing that I really enjoyed. So this one is semi-autobiographical, and it's about the main character's experience going to a new school, being a military kid, and having to continuously adjust, and now ending up at this school in trying to make new friends. So I'm excited for that one because Gail's name's attached to it. I'm also really excited, and I keep shocking myself like every time I bring this up. I'm really excited for Cinderella and the Beast, or Beauty and the Glass Slipper by Kim Bussing. This is a fractured fairy tale slash like what if Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, like their stories were swapped and these characters were in the opposite of their princess counterpart. I think the premise of that is really interesting because you do get a lot of children and middle grade fractured fairy tales because, I mean, it makes sense with it being kidlit, and kids having familiarity with those stories and wanting to kind of flip them on their heads. But I must say, this is different than a lot of fractured fairy tales that I have seen, so it does make me really excited to pick it up. Of course, I'm going to add Breath of the Dragon by Fonda Lee and Shannon Lee. This is probably one that is anticipated for a lot of readers because Fonda Lee's name is attached to it, and in terms of the book community, but then Shannon Lee being Bruce Lee's daughter is also kind of a big draw. But I do like the premise of this one where we have a main character that is not gifted like his counterparts because he wants to enter this competition to help save his family, but he doesn't have this special marking of dragons where they have scales on them, not completely, but almost like a patch where they're given special powers, and he doesn't have that. So I'm interested to see how all of that is going to play out. And I'm a fan of Fonda Lee's writing, so there's definitely that plus to it. Then I'm gonna say Biology Lessons by Melissa Cantor is another one that I'm excited for, but also nervous to read because I think it's going to be extremely realistic. I would say that this was dystopian, but to be quite frank with you, there's some realistic fiction kind of things going on there that it makes me quite nervous to pick it up, but also very excited because it deals with bodily autonomy being stripped away, where getting an abortion is completely illegal. And if you are found to be helping someone cross state lines to get an abortion, you could also be subject to criminal punishment. And it's very real. So with that being said, you would think in 2025 that would be a dystopian read, but it's very much so realistic fiction. So excited, but also nervous about how real that's going to feel. And the last one that I think I'm going to say that I definitely want to, if I had to pick a top two, I'm going to say Danilo Was Here by Tamika Burgess because I really love Sincerely Cicely, which was her 2023 release. And so I'm excited to see her coming out with another middle grade in 2025. This one is a mix of realistic fiction and historical fiction where a main character lives in Panama and is dealing with the fallout of the US invading Panama and what implications that's had for his family. And so he's kind of giving up his childhood to make sure that his family doesn't end up in a refugee camp, but he gets this opportunity, which I believe is tied to baseball, to come to the States, specifically Cali. And his father's been absent, but the last known place that his father's been is also California. So we're gonna have a couple of different elements working in this. I do think that it's nice to get a book from in children's lit that is modern from a Panamanian, a Black Panamanian author, featuring Black Panamanian characters. Love it. I absolutely love it. So excited for that one. I don't think there's going to be much else that I'm going to throw in this video in terms of expectations of what I've read because of what I'm going to read, not expectations of what I've read, expectations of what I'm going to read because it's going to be a lot already. Like we have these 5, right? So we have these 5 that I've pulled from my own collection because I just need to be reading more from my physical collection, but also keeping up with the new releases as well as some book club stuff. By the time that this comes out, I should have already announced the Realm of Comics book club picks. So I would need to read our selection for January, which is not bad because I technically have already read it. Because it's Beneath the Trees. Is it Beneath the Trees Where No One... Because I stay confused about everything. It's Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Lies. So I have to read that. Granted, I've already read it, but I'm going to reread it so that I'm able to effectively participate in the conversation. But let me know in the comments down below what you are going to be reading for this first month. I know we all make really, really lofty goals in January because it's the start of a new year and it's like we're trying to be fresh and fun and really get into our bag with reading. And then you know how the year goes. The year usually, it just things just don't always go as planned, but that's okay. That's all right. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you plan on reading in the month of January. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications if you're interested, and follow me on social media or supporting the channel. All the links will be down in the description box below, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.